Thank you, Ahmed, and good evening, everyone. Let me begin by offering my condolences to you on the death of Hoca Effendi. I know he was such an important figure, and not just a figure, but someone who lives in your hearts. I never had the honor of meeting him, though many friends did meet him and were very moved by the experience. But so in that case, I'm not going to speak about him so much as to take a saying of Jesus when he warned against false teachers of the truth or teachers of false truths. He said, "You will know them by their fruits." You can't get, people don't pick grapes from thorn bushes. They don't pick figs from thistles. A good tree bears good fruit. Many of you will recognize a similar parable from Surat Ibrahim in the Quran. And so I'd just like to speak about the fruit of the work of Mr. Gülen that I've experienced over these, the last 30 years, I suppose. I've known so many wonderful people, members of the Hizmet movement. Here in Australia, not so much, but yes, the AIS and the Affinity.
I'm really sorry, Dan. I just need to put this up just a bit so everyone can hear you a bit better.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Sorry.
I've known many members of the movement in different parts of the world, and I think the thing that strikes me right across the board, thinking of friends from AIS, from Affinity, from the Rumi Forum in Washington, where I was for 15 years, and I think many of you will know Emre Celik. It was very strange to walk into the Rumi Forum in Washington, D.C. and see a Turkish face and hear a broad Australian accent.
There's only one.
There's only one of them. And Emre, of course, is now in New York, in an even more important city. Also, the Istituto Tevere in Rome, begun by one of my students from when I was teaching in Rome, Mustafa Janab Aydin. Some of you may know him. Still working now, probably 20 years ago since he was first my student in Rome. Also the Hizmet office, the Intercultural Dialogue platform at the European Union in Brussels. So the Intercultural Dialogue platform in Istanbul, I think, which is where I first encountered the movement. Across all these places and all the faces that I associated with, there's a consistent kindness, generosity, hospitality, which, as Bishop Philip, who is no longer here, as Bishop Philip was saying, this speaks volumes about the figure for whom this movement is the product of his spiritual and religious life. It's a community, in a sense, which seems to an outsider at least, not entirely structured, certainly not structured entirely from above. It's a community which learns from one another. It's a community in which people in all different parts of the world imitate one another in their spirit of service, in their forms of service. I was in Izmir in December of 2015 as things were becoming more and more difficult for the movement in Turkey. And I had been invited to speak to a group from the movement in Izmir by Mustafa Janab Aydin. he couldn't come with me. He was supposed to translate, but he couldn't come with me because people warned him that he would be a target and he might not be able to leave the country and return to his work in Rome. So he translated for me over Zoom. One of the questions that was asked of me on that occasion was, have Jesuits ever experienced the kind of persecution that the movement is currently experiencing? And I said, yes, well, in fact, we have. Jesuits, for those of you who don't know, we are a religious order within the Catholic Church. And I think there's a certain affinity, if I'm not using the word of the competition, there's a certain affinity between the movement and our own religious order, something to do, I think, with those two words which are important to your movement. One is hizmet, service, and the other one is jamaat, community. A community of service, a community whose sense of service sustains the community, whose sense of service enables others to enter into a life of service. And when one does live as a community devoted to service, one is always going to run up against politics. One is going to run up against the use of religion and politics together. And so both our movements have had martyrs. Both our movements have had the pain of being misunderstood and lied about. Both our movements have had the pain of having to bury our sisters and brothers who have witnessed to what they believe, witnessed to their life of service, even with their lives. And so it's been a particularly painful experience for me, I have to say, because Turkey is a country I love very much. And I have many good friends who are not part of the movement, and to hear them speak of the movement and to hear my dear friends in the movement speak, I just wonder if they are living in the same world. The kind of lies that were spoken about people I know very well and whose work I know very well, the kind of lies that were spoken by the Turkish ambassador to the Vatican, for example, who was a good friend of mine, who had been a visiting lecturer in our university in Rome, and who had welcomed me warmly when I taught in Ankara. To hear the kind of, not just misunderstanding, but clearly lies that were being officially put about in Rome, and all the various universities that had been very much engaged by the movement, being warned that these people are terrorists. It was extraordinarily painful to me. And I think when one sees, if I can comment on contemporary politics, we're witnessing again the ability of someone who simply peddles lies to control the public mind. And it's a great danger to us. As a community of servants, we have to pay a price. As a community that is not prepared simply to compromise and play politics, we pay a price. And the witness of so many people in these years has been very edifying to me, particularly my brother Ismail here, Ismail al-Bayrak, professor at Australian Catholic University. I don't know whether you've had the opportunity to read his testimony. It is very moving. And it was a testimony, I think, which speaks so richly of this movement that even in prison, even in the violence and the degradation that was forced on people, he found companions there who were devoted to their faith and prepared to live that fully. So in short, we belong to God, we know, and to God is our return. So we would say of Hoja Effendi and of all the good that he has done, all the fruits that we have seen of his life and teaching, we say, may his soul and the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace and be raised to their reward. Thank you.